This is a B3 video from the topic infection and response. We're looking at part of the triple content at the end of the topic, plant disease. Okay, first thing we're going to look at is the detection and identification of plant diseases. So how would I know that my plant has a plant disease? Well, there might be stunted growth. It's not growing at the same rate as the other plants I've got. There could be spots on the leaves. That could be an indication of maybe rose black spot or tobacco mosaic virus. There could be areas where it's decaying, it's rotting, growths that you wouldn't imagine would be on there, so bits growing on it that aren't growing on the other plants. Malformed stems or leaves, so they're not forming in the way that you would imagine. Discoloration, that could be a lack of magnesium causing some of that green colour to go because magnesium affects the amount of chlorophyll, or it could be that there are pests, things like aphids, the green fly, okay, living on the plant. How could I identify, so I can see that there's problems with my plant, how could I identify what kind of plant disease the plant has? Well, I could look in a gardening manual, a book, or I could go onto a website to help identify. They'd have pictures, they'd have descriptions, and I could identify in that way. I could take the infected plant to a laboratory to identify the pathogen, someone who's an expert in the field and would be able to identify it for me. Or I could use a testing kit that contains monoclonal antibodies. The iron deficiency conditions that can affect plants, there's only two that we need to know about, which is quite lucky. Stunted growth is caused by a lack of nitrate. Nitrate is used for protein synthesis, and so the stunted growth is because not enough proteins are being made, which are used for growth and repair of the plant. Chlorosis is caused by a magnesium deficiency. Magnesium is needed to make chlorophyll, and if there's not enough magnesium, there won't be enough chlorophyll, therefore you'll get chlorosis. The plant will probably look a bit yellow and there'll be a lack of photosynthesis as a result. Plant defense responses. Okay, there's several different ways that plants can respond here. So the first one we're going to look at is physical plant responses to resist invasion of microorganisms. Okay, these are the physical responses that plants can do to resist invasion of microorganisms, pathogens, not animals, just really small pathogens. So the fact that the cell wall is made of cellulose, that's a barrier that stops those pathogens from getting into the cell. Outside of that, on the leaves, there's the waxy cuticle of the leaf. Pathogens can't get through that. And on a larger scale, the bark on trees, those layers of dead cells around the stems, stop the pathogens from getting into the plant. So those are the physical responses. Chemical responses to resist the invasion of microorganisms. Antibacterial chemicals. Okay, so antibacterial, they're going to kill the bacteria. Okay, and it could be that they're produced all the time by the plant. It could be that they're made as there's an invasion of bacteria. And then poisons to deter herbivores. Okay, there is a particular plant, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a plant that when a particular particular insect goes onto the plant, it starts creating this poison which makes the plant taste unpleasant to those herbivores, to those insects that are feeding off it. Not only does it do that so that the insects don't want to eat the plant anymore, but it actually releases that poison. It's sensed by other plants in the areas, and then they equally start making the same poison. So it's kind of a way of the plants sticking together, helping each other out so that the insects have no food in that area from those plants. And then the last section, let's look at the wording carefully. This is mechanical adaptations of plants to resist invasion by animals. So the last two slides we've been looking at microorganisms, pathogens. Now we're looking at a larger scale, resisting the invasion by animals. Okay, so this is going to be larger organisms that would want to eat the plants. So this is where thorns and hairs come in. Okay, thorns are not going to deter a pathogen, but if there's an animal that bites down onto that plant, thorns and hairs are going to be a big deterrent. Leaves which droop or curl when touched. There are some plants that you touch the leaves and they instantly curl up on themselves. They end up looking a bit more kind of thorny-like or spine-like, so it deters the animals from eating them, and it's really hard to see them as well. And then mimicry to trick animals. So that's an example of what I just said, where that leaf curls up and ends up looking quite spine-like, quite sharp. It's mimicking a sharp spine, maybe of a cactus or something like that, to trick the animal so that the animal thinks, actually, I know that that's sharp, I'm not going to eat it. Hope you found that useful. Thank you.